is Ange being too stubborn, right? And I feel like when you see us get, like, you look at that Newcastle game where we lost 4-0. They could have scored 5 goals from set pieces that day from corners. That's how poor we actually were. We were just lucky that we only conceded right in the last few minutes. So when Shah hit in that corner, 2 again yesterday. I think, what did you say the stat was? 16 or something that we've conceded all season?
16 goals from set pieces.
It's nowhere,
conceded from set pieces.
It's nowhere near good enough. And then Ange comes out in the press conference after the Arsenal game and like kind of bats away the question about, do we need to be focusing on set pieces more? So is he being too stubborn in that aspect? Because I think he most definitely is. And I'm a big backer of Ange. I'm a big believer of Ange. I think that he shouldn't be veering away from his philosophy right now. I think he should be doing what Pep Guardiola did, what Klopp did, ingraining this philosophy into this football club and into this squad, and all the new players that are going to come into it in the summer as well. But in terms of the set pieces, he is being very, very stubborn. I don't know what you guys have to say about that.
Can I say one more thing before you move on to the panel, if you don't mind, is that, look, for his stubbornness, the man has got a philosophy that's worked with him wherever he's gone. So the guy's not going to rip up his, excuse me, Ali, his blue book. Is honestly for him that what is what obviously the man goes by, and changes his rules and regulations for a club. So he'll have his key principles that he will not deviate and move from. But people are telling me that there has been involvement when he was managing Japan. He did tactically change things at Celtic in his first season. I think he conceded 10 goals from set pieces. So this isn't a new territory for him. His teams have conceded a number from set pieces. I just hope, as Amir says, that he does show those tactical adjustments where he gives me the confidence that this is going to change. Whether that's with player, personnel, whether that's in the last, 4 or 5 games of the season, I need to see something that's going to show me this is changing. And again, just to make it clear, I want Ange to be here. I want him to get it right. I want him to be the man that delivers Spurs a trophy, because I absolutely love everything that man is about as a person. He embodies what I think Tottenham are as a football club, but we need to see some element of things that are going to change.
Ricky, you mentioned before that you need to see some sort of something new tactically from now to the end of the season, these final 4 or 5 games, however many it is. If you don't see that, what would your opinion be at the end of the season? Would you start swaying more towards that we need a new manager?
I don't think I'd be out in the season 1, but what I do need, as I keep saying, I need to see something. I mean, if we're going to then change personnel then completely, are we going to bring somebody in? Because Andrew's come out and said already, he doesn't want to spend 100 million on a player. But that's what it costs to get some of the best players out there. Look at Declan Rice. No one.
But is that the club line or is that his line?
I don't know. I mean, look, I'd like to think with Ange, I mean, I always feel with a club, they're quite happy to get top 4. That's how I've always felt with a club. They're happy to get top 4. And just come out and said, I want to be challenging for the league next season. So look, if he wants to be challenging for the league next season, we all know significant money is going to need to be spent for Spurs to go from trying to get into the top 4 to then challenge for the title. But I can tell you something, Spurs need to go out, buy a genuine, I think, pioneered number 6 that know their job and what they do and are bloody good at that job, that can come in and be that regular first team performer. Because with Arsenal, I hate to say it, when they bought Declan Rice, and look, we're all Spurs fans here, we're proper Spurs, we're all through and through. I'm sure many of us were gutted when they bought Declan Rice because we all knew he was going to be a good player and we all knew he was going to fit into that side, and no one's going to talk about the price tag. That is what Spurs need more than anything. And I think if we get certain personnel, it can work under Ange. But at the same time, I'll again re-emphasise the point, I do need to see some adjustment to give me the confidence going into the summer this is going to work long term.
Bring it on to you, Lee. Do you think that Ange is being just a bit too stubborn, maybe a bit too naive as well, in terms of maybe not even employing a set piece coach? Doesn't look like they're working on defensive set pieces either. So what's your opinion on that?
Well, if they are working on defensive set pieces, you just fire him. Or her. Look, I think none of you are going to like this, but the reality of the situation is when you are learning something new, you need to focus on one element of that new thing you're learning. And then once you've mastered that, you go on to the next bit, you go on to the next bit, you go on to the next bit. So you layer it. Whether or not that's a new skill, whether it's electrician, whether it's carpentry, whether or not it's business, whether or not it's sport. And the reality is that's what his mentality is. When he was brought in, we wanted change. We were playing shite football from back to front. And actually, you can look at some of the Conte stats. I think Conte's letting miles less goals in his first 6 months and scored more, which is actually quite crazy. Or scored as many. But the point being is that around set pieces, he's not. When he talks about the bigger picture, he's looking at, I need to master this part first before I can work tactically on this. If I start giving you the Conte information, you've got to do this, 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 it doesn't get done because you're asking players to do too much too quickly, too early. And that's not me getting a get out of jail. I'm just looking at it from a maybe, and I'm not saying he is, but maybe this is revolutionary in management. Maybe he is so ahead of the game that he's actually, this approach will work. Only time will tell, team. Only time will tell. But in terms of putting out fires, which is what we're talking about here, we've got a fire that is raging. We need to put it out in terms of the set pieces. He doesn't want to concentrate on putting out little fires. He wants to concentrate on getting the foundation right first before tactically changing, adapting, or putting out fires. Whether or not that's right or wrong, I don't know, Ben. I actually don't know what the answer is to
It's
that.
got to be wrong, Lee. It's got to be wrong. Surely it's got to be wrong because you can have all the possession, all the great play you want, and it doesn't go in for whatever reason. And then one silly set piece down the other end, you find yourself 1-0 down. I mean, it just...
Yeah, but he's building for so that we don't give away set pieces. He's building that we don't, for the bigger picture is we don't give away 9-10 corners a game. And therefore we're under that pressure. Again, I'm just looking at it from both sides. Am I frustrated with us giving away? Of course I am. I don't want us to be giving away goals from set pieces. But the reason why he's kind of batting that away, it's not that he doesn't care. Well, actually, it is that. What he's basically saying is, let's not focus on the fires. Yeah, if I get in the detail now of trying to put that out, we will never get to where we're going to be. This season is about getting the bigger picture, and then we will work on it thereafter. To go back to your Pep and Klopp examples from earlier, that's the only way I can, I suppose, excuse the pun, defend it. Because that's, if he starts working on them things, although I just can't see there's an excuse. 15 days before the North London derby. How are you not just putting something in place you don't concede? I mean, I don't think there's any excuse for that. But I don't know. Amir, what do you think?
I tell you what, like this whole debate about him being stubborn, right? I think it's a no-brainer. Of course, he's a stubborn man, right? Anyone that's listened to him speak and his philosophy.
It's his way, isn't it, Amir? It's his way.
Yeah, it's his way, which I'm absolutely fine with. By the way, I think that's fantastic. I think it's absolutely brilliant. However. He's taken a leap up from the Japanese League, Australian League, Scottish League to the Premier League. He's now in the big leagues and he's messing around with the biggest guys on the block. And this season, he's been outdone by the likes of Eddie Howe, Unai Emery,
David Moyes,
Moisey, and a list of other Marco Silva again, like the Wolves guy as well.
Stop me! Shut me up, Amir! Shut me up, Ben! Shut me up.
No, but it's true. It's true. So for me, the proof will be in the pudding. Can Ange next season take these guys on and get those points back that we lost? We can't sit around here and think that he's going to play the way he's going to play and things will just get better. He has to work on the defensive side of things. He has to work on tactical things. For me, the proof's in the pudding. If he even changed the way we defend corners, going from this silly zonal thing, if he starts changing it up, put a man on Vicario to help him out, give him that bit of support that he has on the corners and go man for man and see how we do there. That for me would show that he's even willing to change something a little bit in game. I'll be like, okay, interesting. It's like when he went free at the back in one of the games, he did go free at the back and bring Dragusin on. I was like, okay, interesting. So for me, he's got to be doing those things. He just has to be doing those things.
Amir, I agree with you. And I think he will be tactically adaptable. I really believe that. I don't have a problem with his tactical doubt or what he's showing tactically and what Ricky's saying he's been outdone by these certain managers. But you got to look at over the course of the season, he's outdone a lot of managers as well. We went up to the Etihad with Ben Davis and Emerson Royale at the back. Yeah. Yes, we came under a lot of pressure in that first half and we probably should have been losing a lot more than we were. But we came out of that game with a draw and came back and fought back to 3-3 at the Etihad with that defence. I thought that was incredible. Beginning of the season, we went to the Emirates. We in my opinion, by the end of that game, we played them off the park and probably should have taken away more than that. We've beaten Liverpool this season, albeit very lucky. We got the help of VAR that day, but he has gone toe to toe and matched up quite heavily against good managers this season in the Premier League to a consistent level. For me, the main thing is those set pieces, and I think it will improve. I think you're looking at the tactics he deploys from the start of the season to what it looks like now. And I think it's a massive problem in terms of our midfield players, the personnel, how they're playing at the moment. Bissouma is a shadow of the player that he was first 10 games of the season. Maddison is a shadow of the player that he was first 10 games of the season. I'd even go to say that Pape Sarr isn't playing as well as he was. You know, they're all up on Bentancur coming back from his... Exactly, Bentancur... 100%. And Bentancur coming back from his ACL. None of our midfield players are performing right now. And that is just the reality. So until we get our midfielders performing, we're always going to have a gaping hole in the middle of the park. And I don't think you can account to Ange for that, for particular players not performing to their level. And Bissouma is a key part of that, because how good was Bissouma and Maddison, and how central were they to our play in those first 10 games of the season? And now they can hardly play a pass. You know, Bissouma, what was he doing? He was sitting deep in the number 6 role. He was putting out every fire, running at 100 million miles an hour, winning the ball back time and time again, and driving up the field. He doesn't do that anymore. Maddison.
What I would say though, Ben, he played quite well in the second half against Arsenal.
I get that.
Romero was doing that. You look at Romero in the second half against Arsenal. Romero was doing that.
I don't disagree with what Ben said there. With Bissouma, I think the thing is that's been a thing I've been one of the biggest letdowns of the season. That I think had you had Bissouma in that first 10 games, continue that form he showed, I think it would be such a different season for Tottenham. I genuinely do, because he does such a pivotal role. And I know you spoke about it here so many times, Ben, about the need for a genuine, number 6, consistent number 6. If Bissouma maintained that form he showed in the first 10 games, I think Spurs' season can look massively, massively different. And I'm not saying that we're having an absolute terrible season and we're down in 15th, but just to give some context to it, the first 10 games, we've 8-1, we've drawn 2. The last 20 games, if you look at the form guard with Tottenham, again, not to just be honest about where we're at, Spurs would be 10th in the league. So in the last 20 games, it has been mid-table form. I think with all Spurs fans, I think we feel like it's mid-table-ish form. I think many have said to us it was an incredible start, which it was. You could argue those first 10 games are some maybe a bit of a false representation, because a manager's trying to instill a new philosophy like Lee was speaking about. He was getting to know his players, getting to know his system. Teams were trying to work Tottenham out. They couldn't those opening 10 games. Is it a case where, as Amir has said, that ultimately has the manager been found out by a lot of those managers and ultimately have read the tactic book to some degree and have studied him and ultimately seen the way Spurs work? And I think there's no doubt about it. I think the majority of Spurs fans, again, I don't want to speak for everyone, I think many would love to see this manager succeed because of the kind of person he is, the way he carries himself in public, the way he talks about the football club. But ultimately, as fans, you're going to always be judged on results. We all want a lovely brand of football. We want to see Spurs take teams off the park. And look, it's definitely been a refreshing perspective in terms of the way Spurs have played. But get right down to it, it's about results. It's all about results. You know, the Arsenal game, as Lee touched upon there as well earlier, that when you look at the game, you do think, how are Spurs 3-0 down? How are we 3-0 down? You know, and again, it goes back, and I know we keep talking about set pieces, but I think we all need to see something, many of us, that are going to give us the confidence. Maybe it will just be personnel. Maybe a personnel change will definitely help us. But ultimately, it is, I think, too early to be talking about the manager's head. I mean, look, we're in a new season. It's a new manager, new system. And look, ultimately, if we're going to... People look at Tottenham as a football club and think, those fans, are they self-entitled? They want to get rid of the manager again? I mean, we've had 4 or 5 in the last... How many times can we just keep changing the manager?
It's
How many
insanity,
more times?
Ricky. It's insanity. What we've been doing for the last 20 years is insanity.
We've had some of the best managers, Amir, in the world football. Whether you like Mourinho or not, some can't stand him. Whether you like Conte or not, you can't stand him. These guys have won wherever they've been. Do we need to look higher up as to why we're not getting the success? Is it a mentality thing from the top? Many speak about this. I think, again, we get tired on Arsenal and Spurs with the fact that we don't talk about the board. We talk about the board every week. We talk about the fact that there's a mentality issue from the top and it always then filters downwards, and that has to change. So, look, I think end of the day, the best thing we can do now is between now and end of the season, get behind the players, get behind the manager, and let's hope we can see something that gives us the confidence going into the summer. it's a big week, Ben. You're going to come on to Chelsea in a second. If Spurs go to Stamford Bridge and win, and we go and get something at Anfield, our mood will feel completely and utterly different because we've got confidence that this man is definitively the right man, and it is just a case of personnel adjustment. But it's a big week for him. I do fear that if this week doesn't go as well, that sway of fans in relation to how they're feeling, that mood can change. So it's a big, big week for the football club, a big 4 or 5 days in store.
And also, I think fans in general, need to remember where we're at as a football club right now. We finished 8th in the league. We've been in the wilderness ever since sacking Pochettino, Conte, Mourinho, Nuno. None of them were right fits for this football club. We've been in the complete wilderness for the last 5 or 6 years, however long it's been. I feel like we finally brought in the right man to this football club in Ange Postecoglou, playing the way we want to see our football being played, saying the right things in the press, the way he holds himself, like all you guys have spoken about throughout the whole stream. Losing Harry Kane on the eve of the season, basically trying to bed in a completely new 11 from the start of the season and doing quite a good job of that. And, that Chelsea game at the beginning of the season, 4-1, curtailed us and ruined that whole momentum that we did have, all those injuries, suspensions, everything like that. So I think people just need to take a bit of a pause and just remember where we're at as a football club right now. We're not on the level of a Man City. We're not on the level of Arsenal, dare I say it. We're not on the level of Liverpool, We finished 8th in the league last season. We need to remember this is just a building season. If I would have offered you 5th at the back end of last season going into this season, you all would have taken it. And you all would have said that there's going to be a lot of ups and downs throughout this season. And that's what there has been. So I think people just need to calm down a bit and just remember where we're at as a football club.
Fully agree with you, Ben. And just to add to that as well, maybe it's even a blessing in disguise that we get Europa League and not Champions League. You just said we're not a City, we're not a Liverpool, and we're not. So maybe, competing in that Champions League next year is too much of a step up for us. Maybe that Europa League is perfect for us to challenge in and, really, really go for. I mean, imagine getting to a European final next season with Ange. I mean, those are the kind of nights that I want to see back at the Lane. Do you know what I mean? That's what we live for. That's what we need. And I'm with all you guys. I do think Ange can be the right manager to bring us back to those glory days.
Yeah.
However, the decisions at the top above him at board level need to be the correct ones. Otherwise, we're not getting anywhere. And that's what has been going wrong for the last.
To be honest, Amir, I'm coming on this one. To be honest, Amir, I agree completely with you and everything everyone said. I think when you take it upstairs, if the board have anybody in the board that are feeling how some of us fans are feeling, there's going to be unrest. And this is the point I'm trying to make. You can't keep burning managers. As fans, emotional fans, we can look at each game, say, you're giving that header away, but the board have to be on the bigger picture with Ange. This is where I'm coming from, team. Like, they have to be. Because if they're on our page or some of the fan base that we have that are like Ange out, we are on the road to destruction. And this is what I'm saying to you. So we can't have it both ways. As a fan base, we can't sit here and moan about set pieces and moan about Ange tactically not adapting and moan about this and moan about that, and then expect the board to be completely fine with it when they're the ones that are putting the money out. I've had people asking the questions, do we trust this manager for 100 million, 150 million? Like, what? Hello? Like, he's only had 2 transfer windows. And back to the Basuma point, in January, we all was crying out for another centre-back. Every single podcast, every single YouTube channel, every single fan that I spoke to, we needed another centre-back in January. And we got another centre-back. We also needed another forward. Regardless if you wanted him or not, we got another forward. No one ever said that we need another number 6, right? Before the January window. Because of Basuma's drop-off, because of the way that Bentancur hasn't come back from injury, there's nothing that Ange could have done about that scenario after January. And now we need another 6. 100% agree with all of you. But what can he do? What can he do for that point? He can't go out and buy another number 6 before the summer. So you've got to put that into context. And I just think with the board, will the board back him? Who knows? Who knows with this bloody board? Will we spend loads of money? Will we win? Have they got the mentality? None of us know. Probably no. History tells us no. Right, that's the reality. History tells us you don't get top 4 next season, you're fired or you're sacked. Next one in, let's go again. That's what history tells us. But if there's people on the board today that are looking at Ange going, I'm not sure we've made the right decision here. Not sure that he's tactically, I'm not sure he can do this. He's been in Japan, he's been in Australia, he's been in Celtic, but I'm not sure he can do this in the Premier League. If there's people on the board like that, expect him to be sacked within the next year, 18 months. They have to be together. And this is the point. We all have to be together. If we're backing him, there's no but. There's no but there.
Got to be all in. Got to be all in.
We're all in, mate. We're backing him. It's no but. Oh, we like Ange, but he needs to change. No, he don't. If you like him, this is what he does.
For me, Lee, it's not even about the money spent as well. I don't care how much money is spent as long as the quality of the players being brought in are of the right ilk.
Bottom, mate.
Totally agree.